Hello, this is Jer. I'm playing Oxygen Not Included. And we're getting close to cycle 500 in my playthrough of the Moonlet series. So, starting off, upping the pump by just one tile, but that's a pump that is extracting hydrogen that's building up in my base. Figured I might as well put it there. I'm also going to up the sensor one tile, just so that my dupes don't get a little bit of hydrogen unless they go to the very top level of this base. All right, so that's going to allow me to move the sensor here, and that is an AND gate. Now I've got an AND gate with the pump, and it basically says if that's less than half full, that gas reserve or reservoir, if that's less than half full, and it detects oxygen or not oxygen, hydrogen at that new sensor location, then and only then will it allow the pump to run. Of course, I'll need some power in that pump. And I've just blocked off my dupes from being able to get over to the left side, where I actually have my material research station, so I definitely don't want to have that. So I've got that ladder so that they can get over if they need to. And I might as well get back some of the old material that I have. All right, so that takes care of that. So here is the research reactor. It is providing red bolts for research, and I've got the ability to turn this on. So I got over 8,000 radiation level where the red bolt generator is only running one at the moment because I'm not getting a lot of steam turbines power out of the system for the moment. I will get more in time, but you just saw a red bolt get fired in there, and scientists is taking advantage of that. Okay, on the bottom of my base, I still have this power system for using the magma heat as power. A little bit of water is getting in there, and that's dangerous. That's because if water spills down to that area, heats up and turns to steam on top of the steam turbines, that's not bad. I want steam to be under those steam turbines. So just going to, the other sad thing to note, while I was concentrating on getting the freezing ice for Sleetwheat in one of the other asteroids, all three of the hives have been wiped out for various reasons. One flooded on the far right. I'm not sure about the other two. I don't understand. One is in a hydrogen area, and the other on the far left is not exposed to any water, but yet they're gone. So I'm actually short on metal ore, aluminum, copper, iron, whatever it is. So I'm gonna get rid of some pipes, or not pipes, some wires that I don't need, heavy watt wires. All right, so pump's going to go there, and this is going to ensure that water doesn't flow over the left side, which is happening every now and then. I've been getting my dupes to wipe it up, but that it just seeming a bit dangerous in my mind, because if, as I mentioned, water spills over on that area, it could cause a big old mess. So I'm going to put some of this water, either a mix of water or salt water, inside those liquid reservoirs. Okay, so this is the world that I can teleport to. I've got this huge pipe system that I built in a previous episode that's bringing freezing polluted water through and creating ice. I just filled that area there with some water, and I'll destroy that liquid vent, remove that material, and let that turn to ice. So once every bit of that returns to ice, then I'll start planting this sleet wheat. And the sleet wheat, you can see the dupe there is dropping it back, so it'll go to the other world, which has a deep freezer for the stuff, so that sleet wheat won't go bad if it's sitting in polluted oxygen or not in a frozen zone. But eventually I'm going to get some of that sleet wheat back in this world, and I'm going to get my pips to start planting it, so I'll have wild sleet wheat growing everywhere. So the nice thing about that, even though wild plants don't grow as fast, they don't need any resources, so I'm not going to need to provide water or have dupes do any manual work such as farming. All right, just a note here, Cleaner is the one that has been up in the air, or space rather, and they've been running this machine to generate some data banks. So they've got over 10 or 12 tons of plastic, and they're slowly been generating some data banks for us. And I can start to do some research. The main thing I want right now is Radbolt engines, so that I can start to get Radbolts, not only use it for research, but also flying around in space. Okay, so I just noticed that I had solar panel that was not connected, and might as well take advantage of that. But once this nuclear power plant, as I call it, is running, I'm going to be generating an excessive amount of power. I'm deciding to bring over some pips, or pip eggs rather, to the world where I need pips. I'll do that now. So hopefully by the time that I need more pips, they'll be there. Okay, so there is problems going on in this system here. The temperature is 40 degrees in that water. That's not a problem. That's actually decent. Nothing wrong with that, as long as it maintains that temperature. But we'll get back to that issue. Here I'm just cleaning up some liquid. Now it is looking like that's a bit safer. You can see some rad bolts are being wasted. That's why I want to do some research on those red bolt engines, because I might as well use them for space travel. But I'm going to also build an interplanetary launcher. I already have one on the far right that was connected to my old system for rad bolts. I'm going to get rid of that and replace it just with this. And the initial use for this is going to be sending water to the oil biome, or asteroid that has the oil biome, so that I can generate more oil and ultimately petroleum and generate plastic. Okay, so I just realized I didn't have a light for scientists there to do research. I might as well do that. So just setting, now that that's all created, setting the first bit of water in this new interplanetary launcher to head towards the decimal lands. All right, I'm also going to send a dupe over there because the oil well won't run without a dupe having some manual work every now and then. So I'm going to have to send a dupe over there. Now I've got water going into this rocket, which, hold on, what's going on? Okay, is this a bug or have they changed the game? I don't think this is supposed to happen. This is weird. Where's that water going? When you're traveling, when a rocket is traveling in space, this is how this normally would work. If you've got the liquid to the output, it just leaks out in space and is gone. But it doesn't do this, or it's not supposed to do this, I believe, when you've landed the rocket. And this rocket is landed. So this is confusing to me. I don't know how long this system has been running, and I've been wasting my water. But anyway, I'm putting a shut off there. I already have the switch, so that will prevent that from happening. That's weird. I don't. Please leave a comment if you've ever seen that happen. That's again a rocket that is landed but is leaking out liquid or possibly maybe gas. I'm assuming that's a bug, unless maybe they decided to change the game and how that works. So before I bring in the pips and that, I've decided I might as well bring in a few other spots of 3 where I can fill with water and ultimately have ice. Now, when I start planting sleet wheat, it's going to be a little bit limiting because I haven't left myself a lot of room. I'm going to have to go from the actual top down and work my way from the top to every level and go towards the left. So start on the far right, that is, and then move towards the left. And you'll see that. I'm not sure if that'll be in this episode. That might be in the next episode or something. But what I'm building down here is a neat trick. If you're in the business of planting things for pips, one of the tricks that you might want to do is build something where you do. Oh, full mold. No, thank you. You might want to tell the pips to not build here, and you can do that by either building or even just indicating that you're going to build something. Anyway, that spot underneath there is a solution, a great solution for controlling that. Notice I've got 2 storage bins. I'm going to fill that with a rare material, rare-ish material for the asteroid that you're on. And I'm going to use obsidian for that because I've got about 10 or 20 tons of obsidian, not a whole lot. I can fit it within those 2 bins. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the ability to lock that door. So I'm going to have the door open, build a bunch of ladders, and then close the door such that my dupes, the pips won't be able to build in that spot, but the dupes won't waste time in building those ladders as well. Anyway, I don't think that's going to be in this episode, but look forward to that neat trick in the next episode or 2 maybe. Alright, so I'm sending Cleaner back up in space. They landed, And the first thing that happens, there's a high priority process for the dupes to take the databanks out and put it into a storage bin next to the Interplanetary Launcher, not the launcher. What am I trying to say? The virtual planetarium. They're putting, and you can see the scientists on the bottom left having some fun in that room. So every now and then, I'm just going to bring them down and do that. I'm thinking of having punch up pepper seeds brought over to oil biome or to Desolens, and I'm going to plant the wild plants for those plants over there. Because I don't want my dupes to eat just sleet wheat or those frozen buns. I actually want them to eat pepper bread. And I need more than just the sleet wheat. I need those pepper plants to be able to do that. Okay, so my system for converting polluted water to regular water has been running fine, but I'm going to put in now desalinate. Oh my God. I think you know what I'm saying. This machine, okay, that converts salt water to water. Desalination, is that, there we go. All right, so what, just need and I've got a ton of salt. And part of that is just to make it such that if I run out of sand for filtration, this system will kick in. So I'd rather build it now when I don't need to, rather than needing to build it and having needing water right away and having to wait. So this is kind of like just thinking ahead in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have a mix of the two different water systems converge at this point here. And it'll be kind of like a 50-50 type of split, or generally that's kind of how I expect it'll work. And that way, some of the load will be taken from the polluted water and some will be from the salt water to make regular water. Okay, you can see I'm telling my two dupes that are over in this world to start putting the little bit of obsidian that they have in those bins. And this is going to be very helpful. And I'm also bringing a pip down there. Okay, issues with the nuclear power plant, and the main thing is the pressure of the steam is not high enough. I decided to build the aquatuners on the far sides, and that's not a problem once the steam pressure gets high enough, but it's just not high enough now. I'm going to have to get more water inside there, and I've got lots of water. I just built that, or in the process of building that desalination plant, so that's good. I'm going to tell my dupes they're going to have to go in, because if this thing overheats and the steam turbines stop running, this could be a giant mess. So anyway, I just had one of my dupes, fast forward a bit, they fixed that aquatuner, but that's going to break again if I'm not careful. It's 300 degrees around. Yeah, it's definitely going to break soon as that goes up, because the pressure is in like the grams. I mean, between the 10 or 100 grams of steam. That's not enough. So what I'm going to do is put a liquid vent in that spot, somewhere's in there, probably next to this guy, because I'm going to temporarily turn it off or set it to a setting that it won't run, at least for next little while, and then aim to put water inside this machine. So my process for doing that is currently recycling the same water, so that's why the steam pressure is not rising. The steam pressure is very low. It's about 1 kilogram or even less. So I really want to aim to get water inside that. And that's going to turn to steam and increase the pressure. And what that's going to do, it's just going to allow the aquatuners to interact with that steam and up the temperature. That'll be taken away, that hot steam will be taken away from the steam turbine above it, and water will be thrown back down. All right, so that's going to require more steel, and I'm out of iron ore, so hopefully I've got enough natural iron to be able to make the steel I need to do this. So there is, you can see I've got a pipe going into that spot, and that's going to go out as water. Now I'm being very careful to have that as insulated, the pipe made out of insulated ceramic, so that the water doesn't bust into steam in the pipe. It will land inside that chamber as water. Okay, I'm getting damaged from the other one. Oh my goodness. Okay, this needs to be built at a high priority. This is highest priority right now. I'm even going to land this rocket, just one dupe, but Cleaner, you're going to take a break from the system and can help the dupes build this high priority task. I really, really, really want to push water inside this so that I can up the pressure. Make sure that stops burning steel, because the aqua tuner, when it breaks, the dupes need to throw steel at it. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. And I really need that to continue to operate so that the steam turbines that are above the system stay cool, so they can effectively produce power, which is a big component of this whole system. The other bit is the red bolts. And if I'm not getting one of those two things, it's not the best situation. Okay, so I'm going to disable auto repair and just try to hope some food there that's good for space. All right, so all I need is that little tiny liquid vent to be created, and I'll start throwing some water on this system. That'll keep at least one of the aqua tuners cool, and then once the steam pressure increases in the overall system, they'll do that. Now, what is this dude taking igneous rock to inside that hot chamber? Oh, the pipes. There is a lot of granite around here, not a lot of igneous rock. So it'd be slightly better if I chose the material for that pipe to be made out of granite instead of igneous rock. That's one thing I found. I don't know. It's interesting, but also can be annoying in this game. The fact that everything is made out of materials. I wish there was a way to kind of say, you know what, automatically select local materials, but sometimes it actually matters. The materials actually, like granite, for instance, interacts better with temperatures. Igneous rock actually does better at insulating. Anyway, I love it and I hate it in this game. I almost, when I started playing Oxygen Not Included, that was one of the things early on that just made me throw the game away and say, no, now that I realize that you have to pay attention to materials and what you make out of things, it's just too much. And of course that didn't last. A couple days went by, I'm like, maybe I can deal with it. And well, you can see where I am now. So that's okay. I built this rocket platform in the wrong location. That needs to actually be down one, because the Red Bolt engine, the spot that takes in the Red Bolts, needs to line up with this system. So just before I build my first Red Bolt, actually, by the way, research for that has been completed, obviously, thanks to the databanks and the Red Bolts I'm getting out of this system. I'm having no trouble to do any advanced research at this point. Still in the manual process of selecting pips for food, but once I get sleet wheat and that pepper bread running, that won't be the case. So that'll be a new location for my first Red Bolt engine that I can actually start charging now. Well, once it's actually built, rather. But as soon as this thing is built, and that needs steel, which I don't have a lot of, so I'm going to have to send a dupe over to the Desolens to get more iron ore to alleviate that problem. But anyway, that's fine for the moment. I am then going to, I don't have the ability, I want to, actually that tells me what I need to research. I want to put a telescope in this rocket, so we can go in places that I can't see or haven't discovered before. But I don't have the research for that, so that'll have to wait. Also building a ladder across the top, because ultimately, with the fact that Red Bolts are needed to charge this thing, Red Bolts have to go through the air, the dupes that come in contact with it can take damage. And I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to ultimately get my dupes to go into this rocket or set of rockets from the top instead of the bottom, such that they can board and construct it in a way that they don't get hit by Red Bolts. Because at the current moment, there's a chance when they go by that they could take a bit of damage. Not enough to kill them, unless of course they get hit multiple times, but certainly enough for them to do damage and possibly need to go to a hospital, which I currently don't have, because I just haven't bothered to do that. But I might, now that I've got a system for generating a lot of Red Bolts, I might think about doing that. But anyway, so the system overall for the nuclear power plant is running healthily so far. except for the fact that the aquatuners need to get pressure up, as I mentioned. But apart from that, everything else is running. Get a lot of power. Looking at making some copper because I'm going to construct this new rocket. I'm not going to launch it anytime soon, but I might as well start on the construction process for it. Alright, so constructing that new rocket, as I mentioned, Interplanetary Launcher has been running and sending water to the distal lands and a bit of power, actually quite a bit of power. Not all steam turbines are running, but every one that is running is getting up around to 700 units of power, kilowatts of power, I believe. So that's awesome. That's taking care of the Rebel generator plus many other things. My dupes do not have to be on manual generator from this point on, I'm pretty sure, as long as I can make that system stable. And really it's about controlling heat when we're talking about the Research Reactor. Okay, so that interplanetary launcher is set to send material or water over. I'm going to be needing a lot more water going forward, so the fact that I'm got a system to utilize the salt water here, that's good. It's also necessary. I'm going to eventually want to use this spot for things, morale bonus stuff, for instance. So getting rid of that salt water is good. Okay, so this is the inside of a rocket, and this is going to be more the long-term living area type rocket. So I built a utility rocket in the past, but this is more designed for keeping the morale of the duplicants up while they do more of a long-term mission in space, so they can go a little bit further without getting freaked out from loneliness or whatever it is. Well, in reality, it's just the skills. If you give a dupe skills, they expect morale in return for it, and that's what we're doing here. So it's also going to be, life-sustaining system is going to be the highest priority. So you can see I've got ability to take out carbon dioxide, because if that builds up too much, then there's no spot. Even if you're generating oxygen, it doesn't matter. If there's enough carbon dioxide, they'll suffocate. So that's what that is, and that's going to send the polluted water that goes out of that out into space. And I'm also going to have a lavatory on the top right area. So that's also going to send polluted water out in space. The rest of the pipes is going to be about loading water into those two things, as well as a bunch of air pipes for oxygen. And just building a spot for sleet wheat and pips to be able to start planting some wild sleet wheat here. And I think that probably won't be in this episode, but that'll be coming up pretty soon. I've chosen to, I thought I was done with all the water spots, but I've chosen to add a couple more. I'm just generating probably way more sleet wheat than I actually need for my ultimate 20 dupes in the future. But anyway, those little spots are going to be filled with water, and eventually I'm going to reroute the polluted water that's chilled to about minus 15 to go around that area. That spot here I intended to freeze, but you know what? I'd rather have the insulation there than the one little piece of sleet wheat that I would get if I were to do that. So that's why I'm taking that out. That's also going to allow me to insulate that extra tile that's on the washroom side of this. Doing some table salt because why not? I'm not really critical at this point, but there you go. This old system I had for the hatches, I'm taking that out. It's going to give me some material. And it's going to, just doing a cut there, I'm going to have to make sure I remember to replace that heavy watt wire once I'm done. So yeah, this just whatever material that's made out of will come back. So I'm now going to change up this system here. You notice that where that dupe is, they're in line of the rebels. I turned the rebel generator off, so they're not going to get hit. So it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to have the rebels go up into such a position that if the dupes are running around on the floor inside this, they won't take damage. So I'm just going to destroy some of the rebel reflectors and set up the whole system such that it's going to go 3 tiles, on the third tile from the floor, such that the dupes that run on the bottom 2 tiles won't take damage. And I'll have to change the orientation of the rebel generators on the bottom right such that they point up instead of that's not up, that's diagonal. So they'll point up, going to that rebel reflector and going, same path, just with the exception of avoiding the range that a dupe could take damage to, unless they're on that ladder. But I expect they'll be on the ladder a lot less than they will on that floor. Eventually, one dupe is going to have to go rebuild that aqua tuner that I destroyed on the far right. But I'm not going to do that until I have increased the pressure in there. So make good progress on this rocket here. I'm going to build a bin for food, and that is going to be stored in a vacuum area, which is going to ensure that, first of all, that's a sterile environment for the food. That's going to reduce the effect of it going bad. But also, if I put frozen food into it, because it's in a vacuum, it won't decrease, and it's on a tile, an airflow tile, that has a vacuum in it, so it's not interacting with anything. Whatever temperature of the food I put in, it's going to stay that. So as long as I ensure that frozen food go in, that system will be just fine. Okay, so I'm putting this through a system such that it loads each liquid vent at a time, so that it doesn't freeze. I want to get ice tiles, not little ice cubes that the dupes can pick up. And I'm putting another drop-off spot for pips and sleet wheat seeds when I get down to this point. I'm going to use petroleum here. I just need a little bit. I'm using petroleum just in the event that this rocket were to ever freeze, or far more likely get really hot, that the liquid water, if I put it there, wouldn't boil up, for instance. So it's just a little bit safer. It looks like the dupes have put in just the amount to land there. That's actually a rare event. Normally have to do some mopping up, but anyway, that's a bonus. So I'm gonna actually create several of this Red Bolt rockets or engines. And initially, I'll just design the input inside of one. But since I'm getting tons of Red Bolts, I might as well start putting that into rockets that I'll be able to take into space. All right, so I've got a little piece of petroleum now, and that is going to act as the ability for the dupes to grab food inside here, but also maintaining the vacuum on that bottom right corner, such that the food that gets stored in there, if it's frozen, will never go bad. So that is awesome. That takes care of food. And a oxygen diffuser with a bin of algae will take care of the oxygen. I've got a system for taking care of the carbon dioxide, as I mentioned. Now I need morale. So I'm going to actually create two rooms. One is going to be a barracks, and one is going to be a mess hall. So I'll have the mess hall on the left, room on the top. The barracks will be in the middle. I'll actually put two beds there. It'll be one of the bunk bed type style beds. So two dupes can actually comfortably exist here. And I'm going to, although a lot of missions probably will only have the one dupe in there. I might actually only be able to put one mess table in there. But anyway, let's not concern ourselves with that for the moment. So starting to fill up water, 2 of the 4 things are full. So that's going to allow me to start to redirect the polluted water, which I haven't done yet, because I want to make sure that water gets there before I start to freeze this area. But that's it. I definitely have over-engineered the amount of sleet wheat that I have. After this, and once this freezes, I've got to start planting sleet wheat. I've got more than enough. I do want a little bit of excess food, just for when bad things happen, emergencies. But sometimes it can go wasted. Sometimes you will want to pack an extra amount of food, such as like for space missions and that. So it is nice to generate more food than you actually need. I like to see my calorie count can go up and up. At least once it gets into the millions before I want to cool it off. But because this is made from wild plants, there really isn't a need to disable it or tell it, cool off, don't produce as much material, because they're wild. They don't take any resources anyways. Actually never completed this system here. So this is on top of the sleet wheat world, or the inverted world here. I'm just putting an OR gate there. And this is basically saying throw water under those steam turbines if I'm need power, or if the spot is too hot. So I'm going to have that to set about 700 degrees or so. So if it's above that, throw water in there. Or if the battery, which is located down here, and that has a setting of 190. So if the power goes below 90%, start throwing some water in there. Keep that process going on until it's filled up to 100%. All right, full of water. I need at least 800 kilograms on that spot. I'm watching this place, this spot here. I built this setup, and I'm hoping this works. This is the first time I've tested this. I had a pump in the previous build of this, an experimental build actually, and I mean that worked fine, except for the fact that it seemed a bit wasteful of power. This uses a lot less power if it works. I'm just waiting for that 490 or so to flip over the 500 kilograms necessary to open that trap door underneath it. A little bit of extra steel. Yay, I need steel. So this nuclear material doesn't leak out slowly. It has a clumping effect. It kind of comes out all of a sudden, or moves over all of a sudden. So I have no idea when it's going to actually make that change to 500 or over 500 kilograms. You know what? Why don't I just for temporarily set this to be a little bit lower? Because I don't want to miss this. I don't want to go away and do something else and then find out I missed this, because this really determines whether I can keep this or have to bring in the pumps. So I'm going to actually pause it when I do anything else, because I want to be there when that thing turns on. So I've got water filled up in that, so I'm just telling water that is there no longer go in that spot. So yeah, let's not wait anymore. I'm setting it at the 450. That's going to open the door. That's going to drop, the nuclear waste will drop. And that when that goes below 450, which it doesn't take long to, the door will close again. There. I think that works. Why wouldn't that work? Yeah, and then the nuclear waste, it's already dried up, spilled out in space. And this one, let's test this one. So again, 450. Okay. Not exactly what I wanted. That has I can't build a tile right now to the right of that door, but if I reroute that heavy watt wire, I'll be able to do that. Okay, and the other one has that tile. So if you're going to build this system, it looks like it works pretty well. Just make sure that you build a tile on either side of the door. Otherwise, I set that to 50. I want that was supposed to be 500. Okay, so there it is. That's actually awesome, because in the experimental build of this, I had two pumps that were almost running the entire time, just trying to get a whole handle on the amount of nuclear waste. And the fact that I can do this with no power is awesome, because those doors aren't even powered. That's a saving of almost, I think it's $240 per pump, so almost 500 kilowatts of power saved. I'm going to be generating tons of power, so I don't really necessarily care, but it's still a nice thing. I can tell that some of the water in this pipe took a little bit of damage from that heat. That won't happen again. Once I close that off, I might need to destroy those pipes because they're a bit too hot, unfortunately. But I'm going to put a tile right there. I'm going to make it out of granite. Anything that interacts well with temperature is going to be good, because I want the hot temperature inside in the center of that chamber to be able to make its way left, right, up, down, all of that, so it spreads out as best as possible. I don't have a conveyor rail system to take the heat around, because I'm short of metal ore, but at some point when I get my metal ore from another asteroid, I'll put in that part of the system. So I want to get the water out of this system, because it's just going to freeze and break those pipes, and my dupes will just keep running around and replacing that with the material until they're all gone. That's wasteful. So I've started a system here for delivering water inside this chamber area, and that is going to increase the pressure. So I'm going to actually automate this so that it doesn't get too high. I don't want the pressure to go over about 200 kilograms. That's when I've noticed I've had problems with the Research Reactor. The steam pressure goes above 200 and it seems to not leak steam out which prevents it from running. It actually gets it in a meltdown condition, so you do not want that. So that's why I'm going to put in that automation. Okay, so over here, I'm just removing some of these pipes, rerouting a little bit of extra water that's in those pipes, send that out. I'm going to destroy all these pipes here and reroute the polluted water such that it's going to visit all those 4 little pieces of water. I'm going to get the dupes to collect any material that's in it, because if it freezes, whatever material that's there is gone. It's going to be a buried object unless you want it to dig it back out, which I don't want to do. Whatever material is in there is lost forever in that sense. Okay, so some granite, probably the most important thing is any copper ore falls in there. I want to be able to get that back. So I'm going to set this to be 200,000, or no, 100,000. Oh, you can only make it 20 kilograms. Right. Okay, it's not what I had wanted. I'll have to think about that one. I noticed some of the dupes are getting sick from radiation poisoning, so I'm going to do the ability for them to have the special shower unit that will remove radiation poisoning from them. I'm now designing the system that's going to take this polluted water around it. So I've got radiant pipes that go next to the water and regular pipes that go around it everywhere else. So that's going to allow me to really get the cold polluted the cold temperature of the polluted water to go into the granite tiles. And I'm actually going to install tile. I didn't do this for the other water, or the other other water that turns to ice. But I'm going to do it in this case. I'm going to actually build granite tiles on the top as well as the bottom, and I'm going to have that radiant pipe go through it. So I'm going to get a really strong freezing effect from both the top and bottom to really hopefully make these last little pieces of water freeze effectively. Okay, it's just occurred to me I'm building the drop-off spots from the pip on the bottom floors. I actually wanted to start on the top. So anyway, I'm making a mental note not to start at the bottom. It's very important to start on the top floor. Anyway, we'll do that later. So there's a block that was protecting the dupes from rad bolts that are flying, moving that farther over on the right. Might need to replace some Atmos suits there. Still manually selecting some pips for barbecue meat. And you can see the rad bolt there. Any dupe that was going in or out of those rockets would have taken damage. Good, that tile there now exists. I'll prevent them from taking damage. Okay, so things are looking pretty decent in this system. I'm just making one change. I'm going to drop off the water in more of the central area instead of the far left. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to manually look after turn that off manually when it gets over 100 kilograms. Flooding, I just produced some more steel there, but I've got flooding here, and that's because I forgot to delete this guy. Whoops. My bad. What's the best way to do this? I could destroy the steam turbines. Actually, no, let's do this instead. Let's destroy the drywall behind it. That water will leak out, be wasted, whatever. I've got tons of water in this world, so that's not a concern. When it gets low enough, I'll get my dupes to start mopping up the water until it gets to the point where it's no longer in the flood state. I find with the steam turbine, the best one to hit is the center tile. If you do some mopping there or you remove the water there, that actually didn't even have to mop that one, but the other two will be mopped up. Oh, no, that's perfect. Because the water is gone in the center tile, it doesn't matter about the sides. It considers itself to be able to operate. So now I'm going to reconstruct the drywall. And I'll have to add water again. I'm going to aim for about 75 to 100 kilograms, which is around what I had before. Well, before it started throwing some excess amount on it. I think it was close to 700 kilograms. But anyway, that's a nice catch, because those 3 turbines could be adding to the cooling, and that's power that I could be getting in my base. So now I'm at the point where let's take out that material that's inside there so it doesn't freeze. I'm going to put on the granite tiles on the top, and I'm just about to start directing the polluted water to go through this system such that it's going to interact with that water and ultimately freeze it providing more places for sleet wheat to grow. So once dupes construct that, that'll start the freezing process. Over here, my rad bolt joint plate has melted. That was expected. It made that black material, and that actually is going to prevent the steam from exiting and still allow the rad bolts to go out. I am at the point I'm able to do research so easily that I'm not necessarily researching things I need. So solid, direction there. Yeah, why not? All right, so this is inside the new Radbolt rocket I have, and I already have a mess hall on the left. I'm going to open all these doors. Just why not? There's no need of them being closed. I'm going to build wiring to go through it, and the manual generator is going to be on the bottom left. I'm not going to build that until battery exists, though. Okay, so engineer is not happy. They're quite stressed, probably because they're sick. It's time to build in this system to allow the dupes, especially the ones that go up in this world, to remove the radiation poisoning that they've been exposed to. That will help a little bit. So I'm going to direct them to go further left and down around, such they'll go through that on their way out of this system. I'm just going to connect this. I don't have quite enough polluted water now that I've made that extra line, so just going to connect this such that I'll get a full amount of polluted water that goes through this whole system. Okay, this rocket here, I don't think, now that I have Radbolt engines, I don't see the point of this. So I'm going to completely get rid of that rocket. And we've got a mess here on the exit to our base. And that's because most likely one of the dupes was sick on the way out of this system, and a little bit of polluted water went in there. That just kind of caused a mix-up, that displaced water that went on top. And that now I don't have quite enough water. Well, I've got enough water to maintain it, but I'm just worried if that keeps happening that I'll be leaking my oxygen out in space. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put in liquid vent, but I'm going to put a sensor next to it to determine the pressure. And I'm going to leave it at 500 kilograms. So if it's below 500, it will run. So now I'm actually choosing a spot to build, or plant rather, wild pepper bread. Or not pepper, wild pepper bread. The pepper plant, wild pepper plant. Oh my God, I can't talk. That I might as well put it in this plant. I have the ability to teleport it once it's been created or fallen off the plant. It can be teleported back to my home world, and that, combined with the sleet wheat, will produce pepper bread. Now, the difference with this plant, unlike the sleet wheat needs to be 5 degrees or below, and because I need ice, it actually needs to be well below zero. This needs to be much warmer. It's, 32 or 35 degrees? But I'll probably want to maintain it even higher. I'll probably set a system to maintain it at 40 degrees in this area. So I'm going to want good insulation between these two zones. But I'm not concentrating on that. I'm just concentrating on finding natural tiles. And I could create the tiles, but I don't think that's needed. Unlike the massive amount of sleet wheat, I need far less of this plant. So if there's a couple random annoying holes in the way, I'm just going to live with it. So there is a system here. It's almost gone up above 500 kilograms. That's going to, once that happens, and there it happens now, it's going to tell that liquid vent to shut off. And that way, if any more dupes get sick in that area, I'll be able to replace it with water easily. But hopefully this system here is going to reduce the amount of times that they get sick. We'll see how that pans out once it operates. That needs some water, and I've got a water line through here. What material is in there? It actually contains water, but I don't need those, so I'm going to destroy that and just have this water line go into the main water over on that side, and that's going to allow my dupes to do the specialized shower, removing some radiation poisoning that they may have been exposed to. So what I'm aiming to do is find spots as best as I can that's going to allow me 3 tiles on one side, and then 3 whatever in the middle, and then another 3 tiles on the left side. It's going to be soft material, So abyssalite, for instance, is not going to be good. That oxalite on the top, that's not going to be good either, because that will eventually just fade away into oxygen. So I'm just going to build out natural material. And sand is also not going to be a good one, because and this is one of the plants that actually has to be built or planted on the bottom of a tile. So sand is not an option for me. I'm going to send some dupes back to the Desolans. I'm going to need, so get a system for producing some oxygen. They can go in, and they're going to go to the Desolans, produce some oil, and have that sent back. But also, it's not really so much oil that I care about, but it's iron ore. They need to go grab iron ore. We'll take off their emosuits. The oxygen system, I was a little impatient there. I should have waited for that to be created, because they didn't actually have the copper ore on the ship. But fortunately, I've got a lot of mesh tiles, which is made out of copper ore. So if I destroy a bunch of those, they should be able to, how much do I need? This is more than enough, right? I'm going to replace that with regular tiles. Oh, they just can't get down, because that ladder, I destroyed the mesh tile that allowed them to get down. So if I build that ladder there, they should be able to reach it. There it is. Okay, so now they'll be able to breathe as they make their way to the Desolans in search of iron ore. Okay, that's a good thing. And I think we're going to end it there. The ship is pretty warm. They're making their way. And one final note. My star map has indications of all the objects I need to find listed. And I'm realizing the reason for that is I was doing some experimenting a while back that could have either been the nuclear power plant, possibly the pipes video I made where I was in debug mode. It's kind of annoying because it takes away sort of the secret of where things fall. Damn. Oh well, I'm going to have to leave it there, and see you next video. Until then, Jer signing out.